Hello and welcome to Recon Paint Gaming. I'm Patrick. Today we're going to be painting a TIE Reaper with my own paint scheme. We're going to be using a slap chop method, which we've already primed the model black, and then we're going to be using a dry brush technique to layer it from dark all the way to light. As you can see, I'm using this Stynylrez Gray to start because it's a primer. It's great to start with, and what we do is basically dab a little bit on our dry brush, and then we get as much paint as we can off of the tip until it is ready to just basically brush over the model, and it basically goes on dry. As you can see, you can be a little bit heavier when painting on some of this gray. When we do the white later, it's going to go on a little bit lighter because basically you want the lower parts or the in-depth parts to remain black. You want the higher parts to hit with that gray, and then you want to finish off with a white on top, or the highest points, because basically when light hits stuff, it goes from top down. So we've painted the top with the gray. Now we're going to move on to the bottom. And again, just another quick dry brush with the gray. We don't have to be as meticulous, and we don't have to go absolutely crazy because it is the bottom of the ship. We're still going to paint it because people like to flip over models every now and then. But we don't have to be as vigorous on this side because it is underneath and there's not as much light that hits underneath as well. So you're just going to continue around the model of the ship, hitting each little part until you're completely finished, and then we're going to move on to the white. Again, this is the Stynylrez White primer. I use primers because they're very good paints. They're almost perfect for their thickness, or they're not so watered down, and it is for a airbrush. So I usually use these for when I do a slap chop method. So this, you want to go a little bit lighter. You'll notice I'm not going as quick or just all over the model. I'm just hitting the highest parts of the model because when I do put on some paints, I really want the purple that we use later on to kind of drain down towards the bottom and then leave the bottoms black. And we're just going to leave the rest of the ship this kind of blackish grayish because I really liked how it came out. There's not a lot of work to it. This thing in all took 45 minutes to paint, only because of this method, and I really liked how it came out. I've already done one of these before, and I was able actually to sell it online, and someone was very interested in it. So I'm deciding to paint this next one, which was donated by Mr. Chuck Crawford. And I'm going to then donate it to our recent tournament that we're going to be putting on, and it's going to be one of our prizes. So that's why I'm painting this up again. I loved the result that came out, and I'm just going to do it again so someone else can enjoy it for free. All right, we are moving on to the windows, which these I love painting them red because it really goes well with the purple and the black and the grays. Basically, you start with your mid of the road red, so the red that's not the brightest and also not the darkest. In this case, I used a Model Air Vallejo red, and then we're going to touch it up with a bit of pink. Now, you don't want to just do white, because white is going to be too bright and it's just going to look off when you try to blend it later. So what you actually want to do is mix some of the white with some of the red, and it's pink. But your eye is telling you that it's bright, so it must be white. It's really fun the way the eye messes with you. But yeah, this is kind of like a little bit lighter pink, or a kind of an off-white that's going to be easily blended in later on. So this is what I used to make the purple that's iconic for my ship. It's the Hive Dweller purple mixed with some of the Model Air white. It's 2 parts of the purple to 1 part of the white. And basically, once you mix them together, you maybe add just a droplet of water to it, and then you start painting downwards or away from the middle, because that's the way the light is going. So we're going to start on the bottom first. You're going to notice that there's very little divots all over the wing, which kind of sometimes makes it to where the paint doesn't blend right, or it pools in different areas. So you'll want to go over these areas just a few times, and even as you do one wing, as you're finishing up one wing, you want to start on the next wing so that it gets you started, and also you can get some of the last bits of paint off the brush before you go back to the first wing. And you just kind of make your way around, do each wing, and try to blend it to the outside. The great thing about Slap Chop is it kind of blends the paints for you to where we already did the white parts, then there were the grays, and then finally the blacks towards the edge. So when you do paint these purples on, it's actually going to blend them for you. So that is the bottom done. Again, I could do tons more work on it, but it is the under part of the ship. There's not a lot of light under there, so even if someone does peek under, they're gonna be like, oh, you did paint this side, great. But the real part of the ship that everyone constantly sees is the top. And I'm already loving this color scheme without the purple, but the purple just really blends or brings out the gray, and also that slight bit of red just makes it perfect. And again, this isn't this model is crazy detailed. This is a very simple pattern. It just really makes the model pop on the table. Maybe not pop in the best way, because maybe it'll draw attention and it'll get shot off the table first, but it's still going to look great while doing it. So just working again all the way around the wings, trying to make sure that I get all those little dots. You can see I moved from one wing, tried to pre-start the process and paint on it, go back to the previous one, and then continue on to that original wing. The reason you do this is, again, you don't want the paint to pool in one spot and not another, so that it looks like you have black dots all over your wing. And later on, we're also going to show you how you can go back over it and make the top brighter, keep the bottom dark, and then just make sure that you get as close to that edge without covering all of the black. Another note that I want to do is I did, because I wanted to get this model done, use a hair dryer. What a lot of painters don't do is pause in between painting models. As you can see, that's mostly done. I did a lot of work already, and now we're just going over with the white dry brush. But there were times where I was trying to quickly dry the model with a hair dryer, and that also lets you see where it might need more, or it might need less, or a little bit more blending, because a lot of mistakes that I see painters do is trying to paint over wet paint, and all you're going to do is either smear the colors, or you're not going to get one side to look like the other, and it's going to leave messes. So if you're not sure how something's going to come out, take a break and put the model down, because I can tell you from experience, painting a model makes it look one color. When it dries, it looks another. And that's just how some paints work when they're dry and when they're wet. So that's my biggest tip, is always take breaks when you need to. Or if you want to cheat, use a hairdryer. All right, so now we're going back and blending those parts. We did a little bit darker red towards the edges. We then came back in with our original red, and we're kind of hitting the top and bottom above that highlight, because we don't want the white to take over the whole windshield. We just want a little bit of that white highlight. And the same thing in the back. I did a little bit dark in the back, and then also went back in with the original red and blended it. So that is it. It is super simple. It really makes the ship look great, in at least my personal opinion. And this looks great on the table. You can even paint the rest of your ships to try and match this color scheme, or paint your TIE fighters different colors as well, so that, you know, each one's individual. But yeah, this purple with this gray, I absolutely love it. You can always improve on your models. So that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a good one.